Happy New Year. Today is January 1st. I'm out in the local vigilance area today and already kind of annoyed with a couple of technical difficulties. Brought the drones out today and the camera's not doing well either. But the Mavic Mini had its blades got kind of chipped up, so I guess I have to fix that when I get home. I got the spark up in the air though, so I guess I'll take that. We're going to basically, again, just kind of do a pattern sweep today, see if there's any signs of life, and see what we find, and we'll go from there. It's not really a day of any particular agenda, but we'll see what we find. All right, thanks. It's New Year's Day, like I said. We're kind of crunching through the leaves here. So far, the day has featured one drone success flight, one drone kind of chipping up its blade, so I have to do some minor repair when I get back home. And excuse me, the camera so far seems to be behaving itself, although I probably just jinxed it. I've had two encounters with people ironically walking Swiss mountain dogs, which is a breed I've never encountered before today. Now all of a sudden everybody has one, which is interesting. Big friendly dogs though. But heading away from them to get into the deeper woods to look for sign. I'm going to kind of bang through a little bit of this area and see what we find. Not that the leaf litter background. Oh. This stuff is basically thank you. Basically not conducive unless you find indents, or I guess we're doing like a listen in stick structure kind of sweep today. And again, you know, I'm not really the biggest stick structure kind of guy, but still every now and then I've come across things in here that are weird. I mean, this is a typical tree break that's not really anything particularly spectacular, but there are weirder things I found in here, ow, that are big root ball coming up on over here. But we'll yeah, root ball here. So since the last time that we have been out here rather, I've been uploading kind of a backlog of videos I made through the month of November, and basically I don't really have an excuse. I just, yeah, damn it, it got away from me. And we caught up with that, so hopefully we'll get better at that in the new year. Plans for the new year, the interesting and maybe ominous thing with the new year vis-a-vis the pandemic, with the vaccines making their route. Now they're talking about vaccine passport apps, which are basically, I guess, digital apps for your phone that you can have on your phone to gain access to stuff that we used to take for granted. And hopefully that's a kind of a short-term thing. But since I will be fully vaccinated in about a week and a half, I will... Oh, I'm just hoping also that it's not a money grab, because that's... in my mind, that's just downright scummy. That's literally like buying your freedom back to go and do what you want to do. But that one has yet to play out. Also, I guess we're covering a little bit of non-Bigfoot news. Also, the final draft of the remote ID thing for drones came out the other day, and I've read a couple of reviews of it from people that are more drone-ish than I am. I use the drones for this stuff, and that's not really, I mean, it's not everything I do, but it's part of what I do, so it does affect me to some degree. But the good news is drones like the Mini that are small, they're underneath the weight limit. They don't require FAA registration, nor do they, in the current form anyway, require some remote ID type thing. But other drones are going to be retrofitted with some kind of a remote ID thing. The good thing they did was you don't have to transmit directly over the internet. They let you do it wirelessly or through Bluetooth, which is basically what you already have for a connection for your drone. Because the implications of that would have been, say that I'm out in the Green Mountains and I have the drone in the air and I'm trying to get video of some nice scenery, and there's no connectivity, which out in the Green Mountains you very often don't have. What you're going to run into is the drone won't launch. A remote ID capable drone is not going to launch without remote ID giving a signal out. So that's a whole lot of what I wouldn't have been able to do anymore, which really makes no sense, because the whole theory behind remote ID is that you're trying to make commercial skies more safe and secure, so that when we get to the point of Amazon making drone deliveries and things like this, you won't have a lot of conflict with hobbyists and things like this. But out in the middle of nowhere, it really doesn't make any sense to penalize people that are not flying near really anything. So that's a good thing that they didn't take that away from us. Because that would have been a big damper on what I do, or a piece of it. But then again, I have one drone down with 2 chipped up blades that I'll fix when I get home, and the other one is, I have 2 years and a half before all this goes into play. The funny thing is they put out all the rules, but the technology isn't even there yet. So they estimate by 2023 this will go into effect physically. So you got 2 years and a half for me to crash my Spark and then upgrade the drone potentially. But for the sake of simplicity, we'll probably just keep my drone usage at that point with things that are under 255 grams, like the Mini, so that I don't have to deal with or minimize my involvement with FAA related bullshit, because I'm not using it as a business venture per se. My channel's not monetized, and so I don't need, nor do I really want to have to go to the extreme per se of getting a I forget what the commercial license there, certificate you need to fly a drone commercially, but you actually have a bit more freedom as a hobbyist. But then a lot of people have found out the hard way, notably people that I follow on YouTube that do travel channel related stuff. One very nice couple, I don't know if you follow a travel channel called Kara and Nate. They're a nice little married, a nice like 30-something married couple that have gone traveling all around the world, and it's kind of one of these things. It's kind of a nicer version of Anthony Bourdain, where you have like street level travel through places where a lot of people would normally go. They spent a night with I think it was in Bhutan, with like a goat herding family, and they lived as they did with them. So you get to see that. They been to various parts of the Middle East that people wouldn't go, like Iraq. I don't know if they've been to Syria. They were in Oman. I'd like to see Oman, basically, because I've had a couple of there have been a couple of videos where people were there, and it's just weird to see like a single Canadian girl on her motorbike in the middle of nowhere in the Middle East, and she gets invited into a family dinner, like in Saudi Arabia, a traditional family's house, and just, you know, the hospitality there. They were so nice. Mentioning Anthony Bourdain, he found the same thing in Iran. Another guy where you would think they wouldn't be so friendly to Americans, but that wasn't the case. And there was another case of another single woman that's doing a motorcycle journey around the world. She's a Polish-born Australian, and she was going through Iran, and just like a point of example, she was camping out in an area where apparently you're not allowed to, and she had to deal with the Iranian police because the locals had been calling more I guess, out of concern from her, because there are wild dogs out there, and apparently that's a thing that's dangerous there. And so rather than get arrested or pay a fine or anything, the cop ended up taking her home to spend the night with him and his wife. Kind of took her in for the night, and then basically recommended a hotel the next town over when she was, you know, in the morning when she headed out, and just things like that. So I enjoy things like that as I tangent away from going through the woods and looking for Bigfoot evidence. But the point being, back to the Kara and Nate channel, I think if I remember right, they were banned from using their drone in national parks because they monetized their channel. They found out the hard way that the FAA considers that running a business, and as a result of that, they had to pay a decent fine, I think, too, and then they were banned from doing that again, because I guess they got caught and reported the one time, and then I guess the FAA reviewed their channel and saw them doing it quite a bit, so they're not allowed to do that anymore. So that is an argument against monetizing my channel. That's one. The others are with the algorithms and things with YouTube and everything. They'll demonetize you for any one of a number of things. If I don't monetize, they can't bother me. Not that I don't really feel like my material is really so risque. It's basically me walking around the woods. The occasional, I'm not going to walk under this thing, but the occasional, you know, drone flight over something. But I really don't think I'm doing anything so risque that I'd really warrant their attention past the point. But one of the things I guess I have to watch, because I do mention the C19 word, and apparently if you are monetized, that is something that they flag, because there's a lot of, not that mentioning it is wrong, but there's a lot of false information being put out by various nefarious players and fake news, if you will. And in their efforts to regulate that, their algorithm is not perfect. So as a result, a lot of people get flagged and demonetized for even mentioning the word, whereas if I'm not monetized, obviously it's a lot less of a concern. I guess it's just an exercise in keeping things simple. So in the new year, things that will be interesting in what I'm going to call the pandemic transition phase, again with the vaccines making their rounds. I would probably predict we're going to see a resurgence in the Bigfoot conference kind of thing and all that, which I guess is good. I mean, they had to shut us down for a year. Some people had the conference anyway. I guess it's all ultimately you're adults and you have to play your own risk versus lack thereof. Thought something had actually, let me show you this. I thought somebody had actually been clawing at something, but what it looks like is this fell down and a lot of the residual shards, for lack of a better word, are what we're looking at there. Basically a widowmaker off of what's up there. Anywho, so with that, hello, imprints, dents. Hold on a second, let me look at this. Let me show you what I'm looking at. I hear a wood knocking sounding noise too. Doesn't look like much, it's a dent, but you have one here and here, possibly here. There's one here. And if you go the other way, and these are coming from the way that I'm not coming from, so there's one there and one there, although that might be mine, to be truthful. So, but all right, so let's follow this and see where this goes. That's when you usually find something that's interesting, is when you're not paying attention because you're thoroughly talking about something else. But yeah, I guess it'll be interesting to see if we have a development of rivalry again between the international and the Ohio Bigfoot Conference, because whether they say it or not, if you follow things on Facebook in terms of like Bigfootery related politics, there is a rivalry. I'm not sure how friendly or lack thereof the rivalry is, but they are in competition with each other for certain hearts and minds. There's a element of Bob Gimlin's manager in there too, which is contentious with some. I've never met the guy. I don't really have a dog in the race, so I don't take sides in that, but that's one thing that's been going on. In a more alarming level, and this is where I guess I'm breaking my occasional rule of not getting into politics. I don't know how many of you, most of the people that would be following my channel are going to be probably no-kill, flesh and blood, you know, real world oriented people, less so the woo, as it's known. As this rude plane flies over and interrupts me so rudely. The reason why that is not near here, but probably with about 10 miles away at the direction the plane's flying, there's a local airport. Well, actually, it's an international airport, but it's not in the middle of the woods, obviously. But, so if you're not following if you don't follow the woo, I don't know how closely some people can take the material put out by Matthew Johnson. I'm not going to call him a doctor because, quite honestly, I don't feel he's qualified to be one. I happen to think he's a fine connoisseur of guano. If you know what guano is, you'll know what I mean. And he's gone from his great reveal to basically starting up what I would consider to be a cult around his mythical little creature known as Zorth and the pine tree Bigfoot people of light and their demonic freaking counterparts, and he is now using them to make political predictions on the upcoming election transition and some other things. And it's like, the guy, there are other people out there too that peddle some very colorful nonsense. I'm not even going to sugarcoat this. You know, I'll be nice and call it nonsense and not just straight up call it bull excrement, but, you know, every time that Matt we seem to have lost our indents, by the way. I'm looking around for them. Every time you think that he has kind of hit his pinnacle of crazy and basically batshit, he proves you wrong. And he's delved now the Council of 13 and the Janu, which he stole from a science fiction novel, although I forget which one, and the Bigfoot are tree people theory that he stole from Michael Merchant. Not that I buy into that either, but Michael Merchant was the one that coined that first, and then all of a sudden Matthew took it away from him. So in his crazy, Matt's not really that original either. But now he is, now the Janu and Zorth are happily, aside from curing and healing cancer victims, according to some in the cult, which is what makes him a little bit on the sinister side and why I don't really mind talking about him. Apparently Zorth is now predicting election results too after the fact, even though the guy that he's predicting has won is not going to, because they've already done the electoral college thing. Hold on a second. And bear with me, I can't seemingly do two things at once here. Okay. And that's the level of crazy the guy has gotten to at this point. So, but then again, if you're an ardent supporter of Johnson, I can't believe that you're subscribed to my channel anyway, because I don't purvey the same message that he does for obvious reasons. I have a mindset more grounded in reality, whereas he is either dangerously insane or more likely at this point making stuff up for the sake of shock value and relevance in a ever-expanding Bigfoot world. So, you know, sorry, Matt, I don't take you seriously. I never did, among others in the community too, but you're the one that kind of has that uber presence right now of crazy where you just, you kind of get the plug because you're nuts, for lack of a better word. So, I saw that this morning and I was amused. Beyond that, I might get more into community-related commentary than during the year if things are quiet during the winter. I don't know. I like to try to keep that to a minimum and focus on field stuff for reasons that are obvious. But you need to have people cooperate as far as, well, the monkey people cooperate as far as leaving evidence around. And right now, I did find some indents that were interesting, but it could just as easily be a moose or something too, because moose do come through here. And I may have hit my, what is that? There's a sign over here. Is that a posted sign? I wouldn't think so. Because this is a side trail. This connects to a side trail that's still within state land, I would think. It says leaving state-owned property, so that nice yellow ring on that tree over there is the marker for that, I think. So, oh, we're fine. This is the marker between this and the other land. We're not on the land trust. We're good. Well, now we're good. I was going to say I hadn't wandered so far that we got to that. That's further. It's further north. So, at this point, there are a couple of interesting groups in the local area around. I mean, a region is probably a better word, in my area that have shown their faces recently, and I would like to, being a network of researchers, is what basically Nezen is and does, cultivate a relationship with some of the more like-minded ones who are you know, willing to collaborate and get out and get some group outings going during the year, and that might be fun to film and the like. But at this point, I think I'm going to take a segment break and kind of cover a little bit of ground, more or less back the way we came, and rather than have a whole video of me rambling, looking around. There's signs of things that have been digging around. We'll be back if something interesting. I did come across some deer pellets, so there's been some of that, like some likely deer indents too. So the larger ones may have been a moose. It's open enough in here that a moose might come through this. Not when I'm yapping on camera, of course, because that would only be too cool to get moose footage, but that doesn't always happen. So that is what it is. It has happened in the past, but I was not yapping and all that, so. But trying to think of anything else that might be going on. That's probably the most colorful stuff right now. Interesting little area over here where it's kind of water. I take it back. I guess I didn't come through this area before because this is more swampy and bumpy and more of a root system kind of thing. This isn't as even as I thought. So I'll have to walk with a little caution through here. Looking for indents in here and the like is more interesting because with the texture of the ground being what it is, it's easier to mistake things for that when they could just be part of the landscape's unique nature. I gotta kind of work my way around this thing and not trust the ice too much, as I just got raked right across the back of the neck by that branch. For reasons like that. But try to get out of this knolly, little gnarly area and get back to a more open area maybe. Like over here to my right. Or so I thought. So yeah, with the new year being what it is, I am a little more hopeful, I guess, for some things. And I'm actually trying not to lose my sense of direction in here, if I'm being honest. Because I want to believe I'm going in a straight line, but I don't know that I am. I mean, I roughly know where I'm parallel to and things, but the terrain's not the same, so I've kind of zigzagged around through some stuff. But we'll figure this out. So, yeah, there's a group out of the Catskills that I wouldn't mind collaborating with. They seem to be pretty level-headed, as I mentioned them. And I've been approached by some members of the BFRO. I have a little bit of mixed feelings about that, but they're not the people that I would normally have reservations about. Why can't I find my way out of this thing? Ow. But we will need a compass. I'm going to, I think, take a segment break and figure out exactly where I am, rather than just keep going in circles around in this, because it's quite likely what I'm doing. So I'm going to take a segment break. I'll possibly end here too. Wasn't exactly where I thought I'd be, but I was. Yeah, we're going to take a segment break. I'm recording for a while just because there was a big thud noise off to the southeast. Sorry, it's southwest. And We're gonna walk the road for a few and see if it repeats itself. If not, I'll end the video there. But so the tally for the day: technical troubles, little Bigfootery gossip, weird indents found. I don't know if you want to call that a track. It could be a moose trackway. I'm not sure. With this kind of stuff, it doesn't really lend for definition. And a distant boom, as well as, I'm going to say, probably 2 or 3 wood dock potentials. They were similar, but far off enough that you couldn't really tell beyond a shadow of a doubt. But since I'm not hearing a follow-up on the boom, I'm going to end the video here. Happy New Year to all, and we will see you on the next one.